Oh, hi, this is Chris, and I want to talk about creating custom stencils and styling the master shapes in Microsoft Visio 2013 Professional. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new drawing. I'm going to create a blank drawing. I'm going to come up to my stencils, and I'm going to come in here and search, and I'm going to search for the entity shape. And this should open a list of stencils, and I'm going to choose this crow's foot database notation stencil as a starting point. Now I'm going to right click on the name of it and choose Save As. This will open a Save As dialog box, and it's going to by default put these stencils in a folder called My Shapes in your Documents folder. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a meaningful file name. I'm going to call this Bigfoot ERD. Alright, so now that we've created our new custom stencil, you'll see that we have this little red star icon here. This means that we can now edit the master shape. So if you right click on a shape, you can go down to Edit Master and Edit Master Shape. I'm going to start with the entity master shape itself. So let's go ahead and open that up and see what we can do with it. As soon as you right click and choose to edit master shape, it's going to open it up in its own little editing window and allow us to make some changes. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and select the main rectangle here, and you'll notice I've clicked on the border 3 times, and I now have this rectangle here selected. Now I'm not seeing my shape tools over here, so there's a couple ways you can get that. Either one is you can click on this little format shape flyout box, or you can just right click on the object and choose format shape as the bottom menu option down here. And that'll give us our format shape tool. Sometimes these will be collapsed, so if you don't see it, just click on that little arrow and expand that. Now the first thing I'm going to do with this main rectangle is I'm just going to go ahead and take that fill out of there, and then I'm going to come down here to my line, and I'm going to do a solid line border around this. I'm going to go ahead and use my dark blue color here, and I'm going to pump this thing up to about a 1.25 width. Then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select this little entity name box, and with that I'm going to go ahead and give it the same dark blue borderline, and I'm going to make it 1.25 point, but I'm also going to come up here and I am going to give it a solid fill, and for this I'm going to use my dark blue. So since we lose our text, we need to come up here and change this to white, and I'm going to go ahead and pump this up. I actually want to make these really big. I like about a 20 point so I can really see the name. Okay. Um, Now, one thing we can do with this while we're here is we can also change our default name that we want to see. So I'm just going to change that for the purpose of illustration. And one other thing about the this entity master shape, it does have an option. If you click on the resizing border, you can right click on it and it'll give you an option to show attribute types if you're interested in showing your attribute types. This is a little space for that. But if you want to style this little bar here, you're going to have to choose to show that option so that you're going to grab it. So I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to go ahead and make it blue, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller to hide it. One thing you also notice here, when you get your resize box, you get these little yellow boxes here, and this will allow you to move things. So I'm just going to grab that and slap it all the way over to the right. Also, while I have that selected, I can actually change the default size of my box itself. I'm going to grab this little yellow box here and I'm going to drag it to the right a little bit. You might not see anything happening now, but when we eventually open this whole master shape up, or this template up in the stencil to create a new drawing, it's actually going to give us a wider box. So once you're happy with the look of everything, and I'm actually going to choose again to show my attribute types, and I'm going to hide that because I don't really use attribute types in my drawings. So I'm going to hide that. I'm going to choose close, and I'm going to say yes to update my entity drawing. You notice the little drawing of it inside there changed. So next I'm going to move down to my attribute. I'm going to right click on it, say edit master shape. Now with attribute, keep in mind that sometimes these will end up being a primary key or a foreign key. So if you want to style these little icons here, you need to right click on the object just as you would within a drawing, and just choose to set the primary key and set the foreign key to reveal those. Now once you've got that, you can select this object. Now what I like to do with this is I'm just going to come through here and get rid of all these fills, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change my text. I'm going to make it about a 14 point font. And I'm also going to give it my dark blue color so that everything stands out. And then while I'm in here, I'm going to come into this font dialog box here, and I'm going to come over to the text block tab, and I'm going to get rid of this right hand margin that's in here, create myself a little bit more space. While I'm in here, you can also change your default attribute name if you want. So I'm going to put it like that just to remind myself to use the same kind of consistent casing. And then with these primary key and foreign key identifiers, if you hold control, you can select both of those guys. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to bold the text, make it a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to come over here with my solid line and I'm just going to pump that up to like a 1.5 and make sure I've got my blue on it. Alright, now before I close this out, our default attributes probably are not going to be primary keys or foreign keys when we first bring them in, so I'm going to turn that off before I close it. And then I'm going to go ahead and close out of here and say yes to update my changes. Then I'm going to come up here to my primary key attribute, master shape, and I'm going to edit master shape that. Come in here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and make it be a foreign key so I can style the icons there. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to get rid of my fill, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to give it my dark blue text, and I'm going to make it, pump it up a couple clicks. Come in here to my font dialog here, go over to text block tab and get rid of that margin. Again, we can change our default name. This is our primary key, so I'm going to change my default identifier. I actually am going to use primary ID just because I always use ID in my identifiers. Then let's come over here and grab these two little icons here. I'm going to control select them. Let's just bold the text and come over here and give it that dark blue, I don't know, 1.5 border. Make it nice and legible. It's a primary key, so it's probably not going to be a foreign key by default, so let's just go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to close this. I'm going to say yes to save the changes. Next, we want to hit this little primary key separator object here, and so let's edit master shape on it. I'm going to just click it once to select it, and for this I'm just going to, did I get it? For this I'm going to give him a solid line. It's going to be blue, and I'm just going to pump up the width a little bit. Close that. Save changes. So the last thing we need to look at is our relationship shape, and so let's not do that. Let's right click on it and do edit master shape, and let's click it to select it, and let's come over here and it's going to be a solid line. I'm going to make sure it's blue, and I'm going to go to my 1.25 point, same border as my entities. And what I like to do is, I actually think Microsoft got these arrows wrong. I like having my 1 to 1 as my beginning and my 0 to many as my end. I find that it works better for me. And I also like to make these ending arrow sizes. I'm going to actually make this one jumbo so I can really see the thing. Alright, so once you're happy with the look of that, did I get that blue? Yeah, it's blue. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and close that. Save changes in my relationship. Now, we can go ahead and do a save here. See that it's saved, and now I can drag a couple of these in here and test drive them and see what it looks like. And you remember how I told you the box would be larger? That's larger than it normally is, right? So I'm going to go ahead and drag in a relationship here, get it right on the box. Just kind of connect one of these up. Let's go ahead and make this be a foreign key. Let's make this be a primary key and a foreign key. Make sure everything works. Let's show the attribute types to make sure that looks good. And that's pretty much what we're looking for. So now, once I've saved that, I can close out of this drawing. I don't really care that much about this drawing, but when I can come in here to a file, I can do a new blank drawing, just create a blank drawing, and I can come up here to shapes, more shapes, my shapes, and I can open this little stencil here, and I can just use that as the basis of my drawing. Start dragging and dropping, and you can add attributes. Everything will have the same format. Change it to a foreign key, primary key, add in relationships, and everything will be nice and consistent. And I think this one is really easy to read, very clear. It'll print nice and crisp. We can save it as a vector graphic, output it to Word, and then save it as a PDF, and anybody in the world will be able to read this nice and clean, and that's what I was going for. Hope this video has been helpful, and tune in for the next one.